I've been depressed. I've been very depressed. And I've been depressed because I've been fixated too much on the past. And I think that that's where depression comes from. That's where it stems from, and then it builds from its smallest point, which is perseveration on the past. Perseveration on what has been, perseveration on things you can't go back and fix. And when we perseverate on the past, what we're really doing is we're stunning our own progress. We're keeping ourselves in place, right? And when we keep ourselves in place, we are quite literally just dying. Because anything that isn't growing is dying. It's one of the laws of the universe. And, you know, I forget which law it is, but basically what it states is that if you're everything that's not steadily changing is decaying over a period of time. So I think it's the law of disorder. I don't know. Somebody drop it in the comments. Somebody tell me what the law is. But essentially, when you stay in one place and you stay stuck and you stay stagnant, what's happening is that you are decaying over time. Your environment is decaying. For example, if you don't continuously pick up your room, just as a very basic, minuscule example, right? Your room, something as simple as your room. Your room is your space, right? That's where you reside. If you don't pick up your room consistently, eventually what's going to happen is your room is going to turn into a fucking mess. There's going to be clothes all over the floor. There's going to be fucking trash everywhere. There's going to be dust. There's going to be little bugs and critters. Essentially, your whole life is just going to turn into a big mess. It's just going to turn into a big pile of shit. So how do we prevent this, right? Well, one way that we can prevent this is by realizing that small, little incremental changes, these are the things that we can't take for granted. Because when we take these things for granted, what we're really doing is we are, as far as the whole, as far as how it affects the whole, we are essentially saying we don't care about blessings. I hate to use that word, for lack of a better term. I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it. Well, I would say I'm going to say it once, but I'm probably going to say it a lot. Your life is never going to get any better if you don't change the things that you know you need to change in order to get to the next level. In this video game, because this is a simulation, right? We are put on this planet to achieve a purpose. And if we don't achieve that purpose, we come back and we restart. That's literally the whole point to this shit. This is why I don't understand why people play video games. Because the thing is, life is a video game and you are the avatar. If you're not putting the effort into upgrading yourself and you're sitting behind a screen playing a game, you're essentially saying, fuck it, I don't care if my avatar decays over time and doesn't evolve and we just stay in this one spot until we die. If you want to play video games, that's on you. You can do whatever you want. Anything in moderation, right? But when I think about people who are addicted to video games, I just see someone who has basically given up on life. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but it is what it is, right? If you're playing video games and you're not doing anything else, you're essentially saying, fuck it, I've given up on life. If you sit around and you smoke weed all day long, you're essentially saying, guess what? I'm giving up on life. You have to really assess why it is that you are where you are and figure out what you can do to fix it. Otherwise, you're just going to stay in the same spot your entire life. For me, it's guilt. And I had to come to that realization. I feel an exorbitant amount of guilt. And I'm having to just nip that in the bud. Because at the end of the day, we can't go backward, we can only go forward. In a figurative sense, you can go backward. You can continue to indulge in the habits that you've indulged in up until this point and continue to get the same results. So in that sense, yes, you can go backward. Or you can make even bigger mistakes and fuck up even more severely. And then guess what? You're in an even worse position, right? So when I think about how to move forward, honestly, bro, it's really more about getting rid of the things that are holding you back than it is implementation. Because the implementation comes from doing the opposite of what you've been doing up until this point. So if you eat like shit, you need to eat healthy. If you don't exercise, then you need to exercise. If you spend your time scrolling on social media, then you need to do something more productive. Listen to audiobooks, figure out how to make more money, gain a new skill, right? And so obviously it varies from person to person. But oftentimes we get so stuck in what Source used to do instead of moving forward into what Source is about to do. A lot of times we get used to our friends, our job, the place we live, and even if it isn't perfect, we accept it because it's familiar. A lot of times we get comfortable, and comfortability is easy in the short term, but it's harder long term. Whereas the reverse is also true. Being uncomfortable is harder in the short term, but it's easier in the long term. If you do what's hard, your life will be easy. If you do what's easy, your life will be hard. That's how it works. And I'm going to say something that I've said before, and a lot of you are not going to like this. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to hit people right where it hurts. Marijuana is the #1 gateway to procrastination. I need you to understand that. I desperately need you to understand that. Because the problem with weed is that it makes you way too happy when you shouldn't be. It's the same thing with alcohol, truth be told. Every time I talk to an alcoholic, they all have one thing in common. Every single one of them lives in the past. All of them. You talk to them for long enough, they tell on themselves. They're stuck in shit that happened 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that's why they are where they are. It's just the truth. Every single uber successful person is where they are because they took action. Because they stopped living in the past, if they ever lived in the past to begin with, and they moved forward. That's really what it boils down to. It's that simple. It's not any more complicated than that. There's a lot of very smart, unsuccessful people, and then there's a lot of very dumb, successful people. The difference between the smart, unsuccessful people and the dumb, successful people is that the smart people didn't take action, whereas the dumb people did take action. That's the difference. IQ doesn't mean a fucking thing. You were lied to when you were in school. You were taught that you needed to get a 4.0 GPA and get into college on a scholarship and all this extra shit. You don't need school in order to be successful. That's a lie. Because the thing about school is that school doesn't teach you how to be an entrepreneur. School doesn't teach you how to be a content creator. School doesn't teach you how to work for yourself. School doesn't teach you how to exist outside of the machine. School teaches you how to exist within the machine, within the system. Now, I'm not faulting anybody who wants to go to school. If you want to go to school, take yourself to school. It's your decision to make, right? I will never completely and utterly shun higher education. Because the thing is, we need doctors, we need teachers, we need lawyers, we need nurses. We need these people in order for our society to function. But what you have to understand is the whole narrative of you need a college degree in order to be successful is a lie. It's just a lie. There are plenty of people who dropped out of high school, which I don't recommend, but there are a lot of people who dropped out of high school who today are fucking multimillionaires. So what does that tell you? It tells me that we were fucking lied to. That's what it tells me. The difference between people who accomplish what they want to accomplish and the people who don't is the people who accomplish what they want to accomplish, they take action. The people who don't take action. It's that simple. Procrastinating and holding back and questioning yourself is never going to be a viable solution for anyone. And I've said this before. The biggest problem is that people are afraid to fail, and they're scared about what other people think. Personally, being scared of what other people think is what I've struggled with the most. If you are consistently worried about what other people are thinking about you, I need you to understand that you are holding yourself back. You are holding back your full potential because you're scared of what other people are going to say. I'm going to tell you guys a personal story. So a couple of years ago, and this is going to be hard for some of you to believe, I was a rapper. I know some of the people who watch my videos regularly, they're going to be chuckling right now. But I was a rapper. And when I started making music, a lot of people were very critical about it. They felt that this wasn't the person that they had known all this time, and I was being a fraud, and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to call anybody out. But I remember I was working at Harris Teeter at the time, which, if you don't know, Harris Teeter is a grocery store. It's a very high-end grocery store. I worked there for like 4 months, and then I got fired. But I worked there for a little while, and word got around that I was rapping. And I had a music video out at that time. And basically what happened was that my music video leaked to a bunch of my coworkers. And more or less, the whole fucking store found out that I was making music. And there were a lot of people, most of the people who worked in my department at that time, did not have very nice things to say about the fact that I was rapping. They didn't like it. They thought I was a lunatic. They were like, what's wrong with this guy? What is he doing? This is never gonna work. So I got a lot of hate. And unfortunately, I let that hate and I let that negativity get to me in a way that I shouldn't have. I essentially got frustrated and I got disillusioned because I felt like I was being ganged up on. You had better have people who don't like you. You had better have people who disapprove with what you're doing. You had better make enemies, because if you don't, you are doing something wrong. If you're not getting just as much hate as you do love, something's wrong. You need to reassess your priorities. No person who ever accomplished anything significant did so by being likable and being agreeable and being palatable for everyone around them. It just doesn't work that way. Now, granted, success looks different for everybody, and I understand that. But if you want to pave your own destiny and escape this fucking 9-to-5 rat race bullshit, you need to understand that you have to piss people off. You have to make people upset. You have to make people uncomfortable. You have to make people say, what the fuck is his or her problem? Because if you don't, you're not going to do anything of any value, really. I shouldn't say of no value, but you're not going to do anything extraordinary. You're going to work for somebody and live a good life, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to be exceptional, if you want to be a once-in-a-lifetime individual, you are going to have to make people mad. You are going to have to make people angry. You are going to have to make people not like you. And that's just a fact. Because here's the thing. Whenever you try to do anything outside of convention, people are going to criticize. What that is projection, because people will show you their true colors. They show you who they really are when they hate on you. It's projection, it's a reflection of their own insecurity because they hate their life, because they're not happy with where they are. Sorry, not sorry. As always, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe and comment and hit the notification bell and all that fun stuff. And as always, peace, love, and light, and I will see you all in the next video.